A very good morning, friends. I'm a little sorry for the inconvenience that we had before starting my talk. At the outset, I'd like to thank Kumar for having me here. This has been a very popular course. This course has traveled all over the globe. Kumar has been doing it, at AIOS, at ASCRS, ASCRS, and I'm really thankful for his invite to me to participate in this program. Now, I have no financial interest in the contents of my presentation. I completed 2 decades as a phaco surgeon on 20th October 2013. And I'm going to show you a complication which I had not encountered so far. And I feel it has got a lot of educational value. Now, the anterior segment picture that is projected on the screen looks perfectly all right. Patient has a vision of 6.6 as well as N6. But if you look very carefully, you will see that the patient has got a vascularized corneal scar on the temporal side. There is a sutured corneal incision superiorly, and then if you carefully notice it, obscured by this light reflex is an area of iris chafing. So you may be wondering, why am I showing you this case? Well, this patient has got a very interesting story to say. She is the professor and head of the department of a medical college in South India. She had cataracts in both eyes and wanted both the cataracts to be removed one after the other. Right eye I operated, it was uneventful, and in 2 or 3 days' time I took her up for the left eye. Let's see what happens. Now, this was a grade 3 nuclear sclerotic cataract, and patient was a bit uncooperative, but I think things were pretty all right. And I performed a capsulorhexis, cortical cleaving hydrodissection, and is about to start on phacoemulsification. So everything seems to be going on quite well. Is the video moving? Yeah, because it doesn't move in my this thing. Okay, everything seemed to be going on pretty well. When I started sculpting, initially I sculpted pretty well. However, towards the middle stage of sculpting, I realized that my infusion had stopped altogether. The phaco handpiece had become absolutely dry, and what I was getting instead was air bubbles. Now, from time to time, if the machine has not been primed properly, we do get a series of air bubbles, and if it doesn't impair the visibility, we continue with phacoemulsification. So perhaps I thought I'm dealing with a case very similar to what we have been experiencing over the last couple of years. And at one point in time, you will see that my foot pedal has gone to position 3. I think this is the first ever case of pneumoemulsification intracamerally performed anywhere in the world. So now you could see you can see the cornea getting burnt. Actually, the video here is not playing. Okay. So now basically what has happened is, whenever phacoemulsification goes on, the phaco tip moves to and fro. It sometimes achieves a speed about 50 miles an hour. So there is always a frictional heat that is generated as rubbing takes place between the phaco tip outer surface and the silicone sleeve. Normally, this heat is dissipated by the fluid flow around the phaco tip as well as inside the phaco tip. But in this case, since there is no irrigation taking place, there is no question of any heat dissipation. And that sort of cooked up the cornea, as you see here. So now I think I'll be showing it in the slow motion also. So now I have got a very badly cooked cornea. The incision is gaping, it is fish mouthing, and it is not possible for me to continue with phacoemulsification from the same incision. So what is the next option? Next option would be to close this incision. That's what I had planned, and then I'll migrate superiorly, create a fresh clear-crowned incision, and then continue with phacoemulsification. And let's see how it goes. Now you can make out that the temporal incision which has got burnt is extremely leaky, and I try to form the anterior chamber with a dispersive OVD because I know I'm going to have a shallow anterior chamber throughout the course of phacoemulsification, and the anterior chamber had to be reformed repeatedly. That has been edited out. You know what exactly is fluidics, as you see in the video. There is so much of fluid leakage that is taking place from the main incision. The anterior chamber was becoming shallow, so I had to increase the bottle height, reduce all the phaco parameters, make sure that there is no potential trauma to the posterior capsule. And I could have walked through another side port here, the original side port, but then the angle was it was quite difficult to work with the phaco chopper at an angle of 120 degrees. So that is the reason I went for continuing my phaco chop to the temporal clear condyle incision, which was quite burned. And at the conclusion of the case, the wound was still leaky, so I had to further reinforce the incision with additional interrupter sutures. I had put an X suture, all right, and the surgery ended quite well, I would say. I was on the softer side, but AC was formed, and I was really apprehensive of what would I be seeing on the day before on the next day. I did not really sleep on the next day, and this is what the picture was. Actually I could not see the patient on day one. I was elsewhere. So this is the anterior segment picture on day one, and on the different grades of magnification. So what you see here is a burn wound, corneal striae converging towards the area of the burn. The anterior chamber was slightly on the shallower side. Cornea was edematous and the pupil was slightly peaked. There was some amount of iris burn too. So that was on day one. It was not too bad, I would say. Now this is the picture on day two. So cornea had cleared considerably, and the AC had formed. There was some residual cortex in the anterior chamber, but when the Titanic is sinking, you don't really worry about the luggage. So I just forgot about the cortex in the anterior chamber and followed up the patient further. This is the picture that I showed you to start with at the age 6 weeks post-op, and eye has healed extremely well, and patient felt that vision in this eye was better than in the right eye, because she was getting a distance uncorrected vision of 6.6 and near uncorrected vision of N6. She had a cylinder about -2, -2.5 in this eye, whereas on the other eye, the right eye, where everything has gone off extremely well, patient was 6.6 and with +3 correction was getting N6. So this was basically a fairy tale ending, a complication, a disaster, which would have created a lot of problem, which had the potential to create problem for the surgeon as well as for the patient, was averted. But then I started thinking what exactly went wrong. Though the patient did extremely well, but then I thought I must analyze so that in future I don't have, my OT doesn't encounter a similar problem. So what basically went wrong? So first main problem was instead of fluid, it was air bubble that was flowing into the anterior chamber. So it could be because of incomplete priming. Of course, the OT nurses always deny. They say that, I change the whole thing for every case. So if the tubing has to be primed for every case. So, but they denied. So that is one potential cause. Inadvertent leakage in the circuit. And before you start phacoemulsification, before you enter into the anterior chamber, the dictum, the bottom line is, you must check the free flow of fluid. Normally everything goes on well, so we ignore many of the basic things that have to be taken into consideration. I didn't do that. Had I done that, I would have realized that there's no fluid that is coming, only air bubble is coming. And there was of course impatience on the part of the surgeon. The ultrasound was generated before we waited for the resumption of the infusion, and then that resulted in frictional heat. It just takes a few, 1 or 2 seconds for the heat to cook up the cornea, and that's what happened in this particular case. Now, what to do if a burn occurs? Early recognition, of course, the stitch-in time, say 9. But sometimes, this disaster, this complication takes progresses so rapidly. There's pretty little that we could do. So if the burn is mild, we can ignore it and change the phaco parameters. However, if it is a severe burn, it could be difficult to manage. I would like to make you aware of certain things which I always look for. Certain things which are predisposed to giving wound burn. And let me show you a couple of videos on this. Now, this particular patient, I was approaching from the superior aspect for some reason. Is the video playing? Yeah. Okay, now I found out that it was a very deep set eye. It was a hardish cataract. So if I access from the superior approach, my phaco handpiece has to be tilted, and it will be pushed against the clear condyle incision or the tunnel incision. And thereby, it will choke off all the irrigation that goes in, and that is definitely going to result in wound burn. So whenever you have a situation like that, a very deep set eye, the ideal thing to do would be to migrate temporally and make a temporal clear condyle incision and complete your phacoemulsification. So this is one thing that one has to be keeping in his mind. Now, this again is is a hard cataract. Now what you see here is a lens milk or lens cloud. Okay, now as we sculpt, our aspiration rate is not very high. It is not necessary, in the initial sculpting. But since the lens milk is generated, which means the flow rate is not sufficient enough to take out the phacoemulsificate, the emulsified material, and perhaps this low flow is also not adequate to cool the phaco tip. So whenever I sculpt in a very hard cataract, I always make sure that I don't see the lens milk. If it occurs, I ask my nurses to step up the aspiration by 2, then if it doesn't disappear, by 4, so that it makes sure that I don't really cook up my wound in very hard cases. This is another situation. Here, for example, as the surgery, actually I am not able to see the video on my laptop, so sometimes there may be lag between what I say and what you exactly see on the video. So here I have chopped the nucleus into multiple pieces. And at certain stage I realized that nothing is happening. There is loss of solubility, the nucleus doesn't move to the phaco tip, and even if I use a coupling, press the phaco tip, the nucleus between the phaco tip and the chopper, still it doesn't get aspirated. Now what happens whenever you use a phaco chopping technique, particularly for harder cataracts, there's always a propensity for the inner lumen of the phaco tube, the phaco needle, to get blocked. In this case, I'm using a megatip from Goyder, which has got 3 slopes, 3 surfaces which generate the ultrasound. In spite of that, this happened. So what I did was, I always keep 2 machines alternately. So I realized that there is some blockage either at the level of the phaco tube or phaco needle lumen, or distally at the phaco tubing. So I got the other unit and then completed phacoemulsification. So make sure that when you lose solubility in a harder cataracts, you could perhaps be dealing with a situation where there is blockage of the phaco, the entire circuit at whatever level, and then you need to strategize accordingly. So basically, if you have a mild case, you can continue with phacoemulsification. You may not even need to suture. However, if you're dealing with a moderate case, like what I was dealing in this particular case, you can continue with phacoemulsification. Maybe you require a fresh incision site. However, if you're dealing with a severe case, there is a tremendous amount of fish mouthing of the corneal incision. There is no way you can suture close it. The wound just doesn't approximate. You may have to use a patch graft, or better would be to use a sliding scleral graft. You can raise a lamellar scleral graft adjacent to where the corneal incision is located, rotate it and suture it to clear the defect. Post-operatively, of course, many of these patients had high astigmatism. My patient, at 6 weeks post-operatively had an astigmatism which had come down to minus 2.5. Patient did extremely well. I'll just take 1 more minute. Patient had done extremely well. And the latest follow-up, 1 year after the surgery, patient again came back to me telling that my vision has dropped in the left eye, this complicated eye. And then when I recorded, I found out that she was again taking class 3. By that time, the cornea had become quite spherical. The astigmatism had gone away. So this is how the astigmatism normally behaves in a patient with a wound burn. I mean, this is what I found and discussed with my peers, and this is what I found out from their experience. Now, preoperatively, make sure that irrigation fluid bottle is full, particularly when you're dealing with a hard cataract. The entire system has to be properly primed. That means you remove all the air bubbles from the system. Sometimes, there may be kinks if the tubing is pretty long and it goes up and comes down, so there may be kinking. Make sure that, the irrigation tube has patency. Intraoperatively, make sure that your incision is adequate in length as well as width. And then, this is a very important feature. Those of us who use Healon 5 or a Viscoat, before you start sculpting, before you activate phacoemulsification, make sure that some amount of OVD has been removed from the area just in front of the anterior capsule, because the heat that is generated, these materials, this molecule is quite thermogenic. It exacerbates the heat generation. So some amount of OVD has to be aspirated. Always avoid acute tilting of the phaco tip, particularly when you're dealing with deep set eyes. Phaco power modulation, of course, has reduced the problem to a very large extent, but it has not gone away altogether. Then intermittently, of course, we ask our nurses to wet the clear corneal incision with BSS and avoid prolonged phacoemulsification. Always give a pause and then see what happens, and then come back to position 3. That really makes it that much easier for you. I'd just like to inform you that there is a book that has been released that will be available at the JP stall, Cataract Surgeon, the Diseased Eye, which has 31 very interesting chapters. You could go through those chapters. It will be very useful. And thank you very much for your kind attention.